Good evening and welcome to Lighting 101 Happy Hour Edition, presented by Tobe Design Group. My name is Sharon Levy and I'm the Marketing Director for Tobe Design Group, and I'll be your moderator this evening. And now I'd like to introduce our two wonderful presenters.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Howard Ezrin. I'm the principal of Tobe Design Group. We are a multidisciplinary interior architecture and design firm in Bethesda, Maryland. Our primary areas of practice include residential projects, multifamily residential, and commercial. And welcome to our third webinar on lighting and our happy hour edition. I would also like to introduce our special guest panelist from Circa Lighting, Lauren Couples. Circa Lighting is one of our premier lighting lines that we purchase from for all of our projects.
Hi everybody, my name is Lauren Couples. I'm the showroom manager for Circa Lighting in Georgetown. Welcome to our showroom. I joined the lighting industry in 2008 and have since earned my lighting specialist designation through the American Lighting Association. Here at Circa, we connect quality products and design services that serve both functional and aesthetic needs for projects of all sizes. Thank you so much to the Tobe Design Group for having us join them during this Lighting 101 happy hour.
So we're going to begin with a little history lesson on the evolution of lighting. So most of us are aware that Thomas Edison and Joseph Wilson Swan are widely accredited with the invention of the first incandescent light bulb in 1879. That bulb lasted 40 hours, and a year later they invented another bulb that lasted nearly 40 times longer.
However, as far back as the early 1800s, Sir Humphrey Davy started tinkering with electric light in England.
French inventor Georges Claude demonstrated neon lighting at the 1910 Paris Motor Show.
The modern fluorescent lamp was invented in Germany by Edmund Germer in 1926.
And then it wasn't until 1953, 74 years after Edison and Swan patented the first incandescent bulb, that we see the first major change to it with the invention of halogen lighting by Elmer Friedrich while working for General Electric. Halogen became a dominant source of lighting commonly used in retail applications. Halogen bulbs produce a higher effective color temperature that make merchandise really stand out.
And since the early 50s, we've seen the invention of other sources of light, including compact fluorescent and metal halide, commonly used in residential and commercial applications.
Although Russian inventor Oleg Lesov created the first LED in 1927, it wasn't until 1962 that we see the invention of the first visible spectrum LED. While LEDs have been used in applications such as automobile taillights for years, we have recently seen LEDs become commonly used in both commercial and residential interior applications. Since then, LED technology has exploded and is changing rapidly. So the next slide, we're going to be talking about lighting layers. And so I'm sure you're wondering what lighting layers are. And getting the lighting right in your home can make a big difference in creating a comfortable and functional space. Lighting a home may not be as simple as you think, but it doesn't have to be complicated. With the right points in mind, you can illuminate your space for its intended use. Layering your lighting simply means giving careful thought to how the space is used and therefore how it's going to be illuminated. Depending on the space and user's need, varying levels of illumination are needed to provide adequate lighting to different activities. A single light source can also double as a source of light for different lighting layers. And Lauren's going to be talking about ambient lighting.
Yes, so the first layer, and arguably the most important, is ambient lighting. Ambient lighting provides the foundation for general illumination. So in this photo, the lighting that's going in front of the window, the large window panes in the back, is where this ambient lighting is most present. And so while it's general lighting, it's not just a basic layer. There are still formulas to follow as to not overlight the space or even underlighting the space. And then This should also be a quality lighting product or a quality light source as any other of the layers that we'll review soon. So later on, we'll speak more in depth about general lighting as it relates to recessed lighting fixtures. Examples of ambient lighting include architectural recessed lighting, flush mounted or semi-flush mounted lighting, and then pendants and chandeliers. Of course, natural light is also a great source of ambient lighting, and building upon that and incorporating dimmers to control the amount of light flooding a space depends on the time of day and what space you're working in.
And the next layer we're going to be talking about is task lighting. More specialized than ambient lighting, the second layer, task lighting, is not only allows you to see what you're doing, but provides the proper level of illumination required to perform a specific activity without having to strain your eyes. Task lights are not intended to illuminate the entire room. That's what the ambient lighting is for. Rather, it should provide enough focused lighting for the workspace. So in this slide, you can see that the recessed lighting over the seating group is the task lighting for this space. Specialized purpose allowing proper lighting levels for focused activity, and examples of task lighting are pendant lights, desk, table, and floor lamps, and under cabinet lighting, such as under cabinet lighting in a kitchen. The next layer is going to be accent lighting, and Lauren will be talking about accent lighting.
So accent lighting is sort of like an accessory. It's another level to add detail and a level of sparkle to any space. Accent lighting is used to highlight features of a room like a textured stone or a special piece of art, or maybe it's under cabinet lighting in a kitchen that's primarily considered as task lighting, but it can also double as accent lighting if you're highlighting a beautiful backsplash and unique materials in that space. So examples of accent lighting include recess adjustable light fixtures, wall washers, wall sconces, picture lights, and cove lights. So in this photo, all of the artwork that you're seeing is being lit by some sort of an accent lighting. And so this adds mood. You can use automation, timers, dimmers, all kinds of different occupancy features like motion sensors, scene settings, and then so we reviewed recessed lighting, which is the only light you're seeing in this space, and it can serve so many different functions. So we'll get more in depth on the world of recessed lighting and how important it is for each space to come.
And I just wanted to point out, Lauren, that I think it's important when you're doing recessed accent lighting that you make sure it's recessed adjustable lighting so that you have the flexibility of where you want to aim the lamp. And lamp is the technical word actually for a bulb. That's the layman's term. So that you can hit the area that you want to accent appropriately, and pay careful attention to the beam spread and light output when you're selecting the recessed adjustable. So I think the next slide I think we're moving to talk about different types of recessed lighting. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, we need to back up. That in here, this slide is highlighting a project that Tobe Design Group designed a few years ago. It's the River Place South Cooperative. It's a multifamily residential building in Arlington, Virginia. And as you can see, we used recessed adjustable lighting to wash the wall behind the reception desk so that you could accent the texture of the stone wall. We've used pendants over the reception desk to act as your task lighting. And then we have pendants and other fixtures that provide general ambient lighting. Lauren, do you want to start talking about the architectural versus commodity?
Yeah. So when we think about designing a home, most people give careful thought to finishes, plumbing fixtures, appliances, cabinet hardware, furniture. I mean, Todd, you know, the art, the accessories, the fabrics, everything that's going into the space, and then just a generic recessed can, or I know, Todd, you said the expression a hi-hat is
Yeah,
also is often what a lot of electricians might just throw in the space because they're inexpensive and they provide light. Well, taking it to the next level of architectural recessed downlights um, that use quality technology to produce quality light in its truest sense. And we'll get a little more in depth about CRI and how colors are rendered through higher end products. But essentially,
yeah,
this is what we're talking about when it comes to architectural versus commodity. It's
yeah.
and
Why would you spend, maybe thousands of dollars on an original piece of art and then just light it with a $20 light fixture from Home Depot when the right type of specialized architectural lighting can really illuminate that piece of art that you have carefully selected for your home? And high quality recessed lighting is really overlooked. A well-designed lighting system can make or break an interior. Good design or great design with average lighting just looks average, but average design with great lighting looks great. So when you're
yeah.
thinking about a lighting system, there are a number of principles that you need to consider that Lauren's going to be speaking to about.
Yes, so there's designers use a light beyond just serving as jewelry for the room or blanketing the space with an even grid of light. Looking at these photos here, there's an opportunity to create a sense of space and interest while working with patterns, highlighting different forms, and even enhancing textures and colors. So in these photos, you can see some uplighting on the image on the right above those kitchen cabinets where it's lifting the space, making this likely it's an 8-foot ceiling. It's feeling a little more taller, more custom, and just creating a sense of interest with some uplighting. There's some cove lighting in the center photo under the toe kick and around the ceiling. And, wall washers can even accentuate the unique features and finishes. Again, in the center photo, there's a sconce on this pretty wood grain wall to the right where it's really highlighting that beautiful detail. And so years ago, we almost always used a 6-inch aperture on recessed lights, but now there's no reason that it needs to be any more than maybe 3 or 4 inches. So I know Todd really likes these, but we have really great little square and round trims that these are 3 inches. These can go on ceilings up to 12 feet, even 18 feet in some spaces, depending on what type of space it is. And there's a few different configurations. So like this one doesn't have the flange on it. It's a more custom, sleek design. Squares become very popular in more modern scenes. Todd, do you have anything to add to kind of these trims and how you use
we want to
them?
we want to also point out that lighting is a science and it needs to be carefully thought about. You don't want to throw up lighting randomly in your ceiling. You want it to be meaningful and create a grid and pattern. And we also want to, make sure that lighting should be considered as part of the architecture of the space. It really enhances how you live. And we have so many clients that we go in and do remodeling in their home. And oftentimes there isn't recessed lighting. And I kind of have to battle with them to put it in. And, when I win the battle and we put it in, the almost overwhelming response is, how did I ever live without this? But the key is to make it thoughtful and carefully planned, put it on dimmers, and consider whether you want to use round or square. Square is generally used in more contemporary interiors these days than round. And round is, obviously something we're very commonly used to. And also, there is flangeless recessed lighting fixtures where the fixture is in the ceiling and there's no flange on the underside of the drywall. The drywall is mudded right up to the fixture. So the fixture really becomes part of the space, and can be a really cool and unique application, but it is a higher end installation method. And you need to make sure that you're working with somebody who knows how to install the fixture and then mud to it. But it can be really great and really become part of the architecture. So beyond just, recessed lighting, we want to talk about LED versus lamps or bulbs. When you're talking about an LED light fixture, we really want to make sure that the consumer understands that there is no light bulb inside the fixture. The light source is integral to the fixture. And so as the light source starts to dim down, and when it dims down to a certain level, the light fixture is basically no good. So it has to be replaced. But that shouldn't scare you away from buying a true LED light fixture, because they are rated to last, a good one will last about 50,000 hours, which is, I don't even know how many years. And that's if you run it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if it's your pendant over or chandelier in your foyer or over a dining table, you're generally not, it's going to last for years. And if you put it on dimmers, it'll last even longer. It'll extend the life of the light fixture. Now, you can get a incandescent light fixture and retrofit it with LED bulbs, but they don't give out the same amount of light output. So you just have to keep that in mind. Let's see. There are a number of things to consider when you're looking for an LED light fixture, and Lauren's going to speak to some of these things to consider.
Yes, so first up, we have lumen output. Incandescent fixtures are measured in watts, but watts are a measure of consumption and not output. What this chart that we're all viewing right now is essentially like a comparison or an equivalent ratio of what LED lumens might translate as incandescent or halogen watts. They're kind of different technologies, but I think in the light bulb market, on like the consumer side, you'll sometimes see both of these used, not hand in hand, but maybe side by side. So while there's no direct correlation between lumen output and watts, to give you an example, here you have about maybe a 9-watt light bulb equals close to 100 watt, a 900 lumen light bulb is essentially a 100 watt incandescent. You want to pay careful attention to both the lumen output, but more importantly, the delivered lumen output. A lot of light bulb manufacturers actually have two ways that they calculate their technology. One of them is the delivered lumens, which is how many lumens are breaking through the shaded surface of the light fixture, versus just the standard lumen output, which is the performance of their product. So again, just pay really careful attention, consult your designer or your lighting specialist on kind of what you're looking at there. But this will make or break how much the brightness of your space. Essentially, that's what lumens is. It's the brightness of the space versus wattage is how much energy is being used. So hopefully that clears that up a little bit. The next slide is color temperature. This is kind of the second area as a consumer you want to be mindful of whether you're selecting lamping for a table lamp or a chandelier, or maybe you're picking the color temperature for the recessed lighting in your home. This is pretty important. So this is measured in units of Kelvin for LED. 3000 is generally like a good color temperature for bathrooms, kitchens, and closets, while 2700 Kelvin is great for living spaces. That 2700, it's closer to the left side of the spectrum here. That's what we're used to with incandescent lighting. versus 3000 becomes a little cooler, a little whiter, but it's not blue. I think that a lot of times we hear this color temperature, and a lot of my customers I know say, oh, I don't want blue lights, give me the warm. But as we're using more bright whites in a lot of our design spaces for modern, clean designs, 3000 is something that's become more and more popular because you get a better color rendering out of your materials from that 3000. And then 2700 again is more comfortable in a relaxed feel. And so on the next slide, we'll talk about the color rendering. So this photo is what I was referring to. Oftentimes the 3000 Kelvin color temperature actually renders colors more vividly than maybe a warmer color temperature. This rendering is between 80 and 90%. So up top, the colors, the strawberries are a little more dull. This could be closer to an 80% CRI, which again is the color rendering index of an LED light source, versus the bottom half of the strawberries here, that is closer to a 90 CRI. And so all of this information will be on all of your specs for whether it's a fixture that has LED incorporated or integrated LED as we call it, or maybe it's just a light bulb you're buying off the shelf. Everything will associate a CRI, a color temperature, and a lumen output. Todd,
and Lauren, isn't it correct that you really want to make sure when you're looking at an LED light fixture, you want to be between 80, but really closer to 90% CRI?
Closer to 90, so your strawberries look like the bottom row here,
yeah,
and not the top. Yeah. In some spaces, maybe it's a circulation space, you may not notice it as much, but any place you have art or fine finishes, it definitely will make a difference in how your space appears.
And something I wanted to mention in the previous slide when we're talking about color temperature, if you have a warmer palette with neutrals and warmer colors, sometimes you want to consider the 2700 Kelvin temperature. But if you have a cooler color palette, then you would lean more towards the 3000 Kelvin.
Absolutely.
So this section, we want to just talk about some different lighting elements. With the advent of LED and the explosion in technology, the light source that you need, is minuscule. You don't really need it. It's not a big bulb anymore. So you can hide lighting and use it in a lot of different ways. So in this slide, the architect or designer is really using lighting as a method of wayfinding. So obviously you're getting off on the 4th floor of whatever building this is, wherever it is, and they are illuminating the big number 4 to show where you are. And the lighting is hidden in the panels on either side of the number. Another interesting and fun way is to use LED lighting inside your shower. I mean, you're used to maybe a fixture in the ceiling, but if you have a custom niche with a really cool tile, you can actually hide LED lighting inside the niche and make it glow and illuminate. So it's just another fun little way to use some LED lighting. And lastly, again, with LED lighting, there are recessed linear light fixtures that just are flush in the wall. And here they're taking them up the wall and then across the ceiling, and they're staggering down the hallway. So this hallway is probably an apartment building, and it's really well lit. And then they also really focused on the lighting at the end of the corridor. So it's a great use of some accent lighting. And this one is just a totally fun image of, I think, 55,000 LED light luminaires that are used to create a cathedral. So they're, in this application, they're really using LEDs to create art.
Okay. So lighting picks. This is the basil flush mount. It's made by Visual Comfort, which we're their premier dealer at Circa Lighting. So this is a staple in most of our projects. It's offered in a variety of finishes, and it's so versatile. It can be traditional. It can be, if you put it in a polished nickel finish, it turns more modern, and it provides adequate light in most spaces. So I have this in my living room, it's in my foyer, in my tiny little foyer, and then I even have a little accent area off the kitchen where I have one also, and they're all visible in kind of a pattern. So I just love this basil flush mount. The next one that would be my pick to share with everyone is the Maverick ceiling fan. This doesn't have a light on it, but there is a series that does with this collection. And so it's just an elegant and high performing ceiling fan. Monte Carlo fan is another extension of our brand under the Visual Comfort Company grouping. And so again, this is the Maverick, and it has a broad range of wood tones, metal finishes, sizes. I mean, you name it. This thing is so versatile, and most importantly, it's very, the performance, it's very highly performing. And fans are measured in CFM. So this one, I think, is in the, depending on what size you get, this CFM rating is close to the 6,000 to 7,000 in the largest blade span. So that's a lot of air moving. And then the last one is the Frame Maker picture light. This is great because we talked a lot about incorporating multiple layers of lighting. And one of the ways that you can do that without having to, call an electrician or change your whole lighting layout is by incorporating a picture light over some artwork on the wall. So this particular model plugs in. You can mount it to the back of the picture frame or to the wall itself. It has a really long cord, so installation's low impact, and you can make your friendly lighting specialist very happy by adding some accent lighting into your space. I think you'd be surprised at what a difference it can make in making the space feel whole and complete.
So my picks, the first one I get to talk about is the Spur Pendant. It's a tech lighting fixture, but that is part of the offering at Circa Lighting. And we have used this fixture in a number of installations. It comes in different sizes. Most recently, we installed this particular one as shown in a dining room of a Center Hall Colonial in Chevy Chase. We suspended it from a dark high gloss teal ceiling with neutral walls. And it's when you walk into the room, you see it through a mirror straight ahead, and it's just spectacular. We've used a smaller version in the lobby of 2 buildings in Silver Spring, Maryland, and a client's home in Bethesda, Maryland.
I'll just chime in and add that it's over Lauren's left shoulder.
Oh, that's right.
And you can also see it on, if you follow Tobe Design Group on Instagram. Sharon, what's the exact handle of that for everyone? Because you guys have a beautiful installation photo of that one that you just did recently.
Thank you for mentioning that, Lauren. It's our Instagram is simply Tobe Design Group, and we did install that in a client's dining room, so it's featured on all of our social media actually.
This next fixture is just a fun LED light fixture. It's from a company called Studio M Lighting. It's another line that we look at that's got a lot of contemporary fixtures. And I just love the geometry of this fixture with the glass balls or discs and the light source in front of it. And then it kind of has an industrial black finish to it. One of our other brands that we love is Hubbard & Forge. Hubbard & Forge is a semi-custom or custom lighting manufacturer in Vermont. It's all hand-forged and made up there. So it's made in the US. This is their plank fixture. we recently installed this one in a client's condo in Silver Spring, Maryland, and it's just a stunningly simple LED light fixture that really just makes a statement by its simplicity. And with Hubbard and Forge and all their fixtures, there's a variety of finishes to choose from.
So Todd, is Vermont Modern a subsidiary of Hubbard and Forge?
It is. It's Vermont Modern by Hubbard and Forge, and then they also have another one called Synchronicity. That's all Hubbard and Forge. And then the last fixture I love is also a tech lighting fixture sold through Circa Lighting, and it's the Span bath sconce. It really is just a single, very thin blade of glass with LED light source inside it. It comes in a variety of lengths, I think 24, 30, 36, maybe up to 48, Lauren, is that correct?
Yes.
You can install it horizontally or vertically. It is a great source of light, and it also comes in a number of different finishes. So I just love this fixture.
And I believe we already had a client see the Helio pendant in our webinar last week and wants to install it in his entryway. So if you see any fixtures here that you like, you can reach out to us and we'll be able to order those through Lauren for you.
Thank you. So some final thoughts. I love this picture. It encompasses lighting design and how to incorporate just kind of thinking outside the box when you're doing your lighting package for your home or even your office. The human eye focuses on the brightest object in the room. And it's just as important to light scenes as to not light them. Like this artwork, rather than blasting this sculpture with light from the front, we're highlighting the area below and off to the side, creating this really dramatic scene. And then most recessed lights illuminate the floor, but lighting the vertical plane, like the wall, maybe in this photo, the example is that this cove lighting on the left. It really makes a room feel bigger and just a bit more energy to it.
So we had a lot of great questions in our actual webinar last week, and I will add some of those to the description of this recording. But Lauren, just to recap, why don't you tell us about some of the fixtures behind you? We already spoke about the spur pendant.
Yeah, so I have, let me see, I can't see myself, so I can't see what you see. Really, what I have behind the spur, up at the top of these bookcases, I actually have a lot of contractors come into our showroom to measure out this built-in, and then incorporating these very same picture lights or bookcase lights. That's the David, and it comes in a few different sizes. I love it. I'm into Art Deco and inspired things, and the David just feels very industrial in some spaces, but then it goes really Art Deco in some others. So it's super versatile. That's one great thing about our visual comfort collection is one fixture. If you change the finish, it's almost like a chameleon. It can go into a variety of different styles of spaces.
That's great. And they almost look like they plug in like the frame maker.
They can, yes. This particular one comes both ways. You can either plug it in or hardwire it.
That's great.
And so Circa Lighting has a beautiful showroom that's located in Katie's Alley in Georgetown. And as you've seen throughout the webinar and our presentation, they have a wide variety of fixtures. They've got chandeliers, pendants, wall sconces, indoor lighting, outdoor lighting, table lamps, floor lamps, and there's a long list of brands. So Lauren, do you want to just quickly run through the brands that Circa Lighting represents?
Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier, we're a part of Visual Comfort and Company, and we are the Circa Lighting. We're not a manufacturer. We're the preferred retailer for the Visual Comfort group. And then that company encompasses, of course, Visual Comfort is our premier decorative offering. Then we also have Tech Lighting, which I know, Todd, you're a big fan of tech. And then we have Element, which is kind of an offshoot of Tech Lighting. Element is our architectural offering. That's where you're getting your under cabinet lighting, your recess lighting. They just have wonderful technology. And then we have some brands that are more casually priced. We use them a lot for, a lot of our builders doing spec homes where maybe it's not custom. We don't know who might live in this space quite yet. And those brands are Feist and Seagull Lighting. They've been around for quite some time. And then all of our companies merged together a few years ago. And then I also mentioned Matthews Fan Company. So those are our main brands. And then depending on which part of the country you're shopping in, some of our showrooms have access to different outdoor lighting companies. So you can get gas lanterns and that sort of thing. So, but that's it. We're pretty, we keep it pretty curated, and we're experts in everything we do because of our brands are so, what's the word I'm looking for? Well edited, rather than, just having access to 200 brands that maybe we might not completely know something about. But Hubbard and Forge, they're a wonderful company, as Todd mentioned. So I've always been a big fan of their stuff, though that is not one that we get. I'm
But
always
we
so,
can.
yeah, I'm always drooling over Hubbard and Forge. They're just beautiful. So, Todd, you have a great eye when you spec their products.
He certainly does. So it really is a beautiful showroom, and it's a fun outing to Georgetown, as always. If you are interested in looking at lighting, Todd would be happy to schedule an appointment and take you to the showroom to meet Lauren herself and her wonderful staff there. Oftentimes, clients don't really know what to ask, so we say cheers and thank you for joining us. And if you do have questions or want to reach out to us about a project, please do so, and you can contact us through our website, email, phone, or find us on any of these social media platforms. So cheers and thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for
Thank
joining
you.
us, and we hope we cleared up some myths about architectural recess lighting and LED lighting.
And thank you, Lauren, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.